Okay, I want you to take a second and imagine something. Imagine celebrating your 100th birthday.
Now, take it a step further. Imagine you're still healthy enough to travel the world, exercise, chase your grandchildren around, and just genuinely enjoy life for decades after hitting that century mark.
I know, it sounds totally like science fiction, right? But scientists all over the world actually believe we're entering one of the most exciting periods in the entire history of medicine. Every single year, researchers are learning more about aging, not just why we get older, but how we might actually slow the whole process down to help people live longer, healthier lives. So today, in this explainer, we're going to dive right into the fascinating science of longevity, the absolute latest breakthroughs in anti-aging research, the role of genetics, how things like nutrition, exercise, and sleep fit into the puzzle. And of course, the revolutionary medical technologies that could completely transform the future of human life as we know it.
Section 1. The Science of Aging, Understanding the Biological Process. Let's kick things off with a pretty wild fact. Just over a century ago, the global average life expectancy was, get this, around 32 years old.
32. But today, in many developed countries, people are routinely living well into their late 70s or 80s. And this massive jump wasn't because someone invented a single miracle drug. Actually, it came down to a bunch of practical things coming together. Cleaner water, vaccines, antibiotics, better nutrition, safer childbirth, and just general across-the-board advances in medicine.
But now, today's scientists are asking a totally different question. Instead of just figuring out how to prevent disease, can we actually slow down the aging process itself?
To even begin answering that, researchers had to figure out what aging really is at a fundamental level. Right now, every single second, millions of cells in your body are dividing, repairing themselves, and replacing damaged tissue. It's like a constant, bustling construction site inside you. But over time, those repair systems, well, they get a little less efficient. DNA starts to accumulate damage, proteins stop functioning the way they're supposed to, inflammation ticks up, and our cells gradually lose that amazing ability to regenerate. Because of this, many scientists now look at aging not just as an inevitability, but as a biological process, one that can be studied, measured, and maybe even modified.
Moving on to Section 2, Genetics versus your lifestyle. What really controls how long you live? Now, one of the most exciting areas of all this research involves our genes. Your DNA basically acts as an instruction manual, telling your body exactly how to build and maintain itself.
And while genetics definitely play a big role in how long you might live, researchers estimate that our genes only account for about 20 to 30% of the human lifespan. So what about the rest? Well, the remaining 70 to 80% depends largely on your lifestyle and your environment. Let that sink in for a second. In other words, your daily, everyday habits probably matter way more than the genetic hand you were dealt at birth.
That being said, scientists are still incredibly interested in the genes of exceptionally long-lived people. We're talking about centenarians, individuals who cross that 100-year mark. By studying these unique populations, researchers are hoping to uncover the hidden biological mechanisms that somehow protect them against disease and promote such healthy, prolonged aging.
Section 3. The Longevity Lifestyle, Lessons from the Blue Zones. So nutrition is an absolutely massive piece of this longevity puzzle. All around the globe, researchers have pinpointed specific regions known as blue zones. These are fascinating places where unusually high numbers of people regularly live beyond 100 years of age. We're talking about communities in spots like Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Icaria in Greece, Nicoya in Costa Rica, and even Loma Linda right in California.
And here's the really cool part. Despite living in completely different cultures and climates, these populations share some incredibly similar habits. For starters, they eat mostly plant-based foods. They're consuming plenty of vegetables, beans, fresh fruits, whole grains, and healthy fats. They also eat in moderate portions. You won't find a lot of highly processed foods in their diets. They're just very uncommon. Many researchers believe that this specific dietary pattern is the key to reducing inflammation, improving heart health, and drastically lowering the risk of chronic diseases.
But it's not just about food. Exercise also plays a remarkable role here. And listen, you don't necessarily need to go out and run marathons to see the benefits. Actually, many of the world's longest living people just stay physically active throughout their normal day. Things like walking, gardening, climbing stairs, or just doing regular household tasks. This kind of consistent everyday movement improves cardiovascular health, strengthens your muscles and bones, cuts down the risk of diabetes, and even supports your brain function.
Now, what if I told you one of the most powerful anti-aging tools out there doesn't come from a high-tech laboratory? It literally comes from your bedroom. I'm talking about sleep.
While we're sleeping, the body is hard at work repairing damaged tissues, strengthening the immune system, regulating our hormones, and consolidating memories. On the flip side, poor sleep has been tightly linked to things like obesity, heart disease, depression, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and even an overall shortened lifespan. As a general rule of thumb, adults really benefit from getting about 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night, though, individual needs can vary a bit.
All right, moving to Section 4, Future Frontiers in Medicine, Accelerating Anti-Aging Research. Aside from lifestyle, another super exciting frontier is regenerative medicine. Scientists are actively investigating advanced therapies that might actually help repair damaged tissues from the ground up, rather than simply putting a Band-Aid on the symptoms.
For example, you've probably heard of stem cell research. The main goal here is to literally replace injured or diseased cells with healthy new ones.
Meanwhile, incredibly precise gene editing technologies like CRISPR are being deeply explored right now. Researchers are using them to better understand and potentially even treat inherited genetic disorders. Then there's this fascinating group of compounds called senolytics. These are specifically designed to sweep in and remove aging cells that just aren't functioning properly anymore, but are instead hanging around causing inflammation and tissue damage. Now, I should point out, these approaches are still under very active investigation. A lot of these are not yet established treatments you can just go get for healthy aging. While the early science is definitely promising, we still need a lot more research to figure out their long-term safety and overall effectiveness.
Looking beyond pure biology, artificial intelligence is stepping in and seriously accelerating longevity research. AI systems can crunch through massive, enormous biological datasets way faster than any human ever could. This is helping researchers pinpoint potential drug candidates, predict disease risks, and map out the incredibly complex biology of aging. It's already significantly shortened parts of the drug discovery process, which could lead to much faster development of new therapies down the line. But equally important to all this high-tech stuff is something a bit more human. Scientists are increasingly proving that emotional health heavily influences physical health. For instance, chronic stress cranks up your levels of cortisol. And when that hormone stays elevated for long periods, it can contribute to high blood pressure, a weakened immune system, persistent inflammation, and cardiovascular disease. On the flip side, things like strong social relationships, meaningful daily activities, good stress management, and just having a clear sense of purpose, all of those have been linked to significantly healthier aging in observational studies. So what this really suggests is that living longer isn't just about the medicine we take. It's fundamentally about how we choose to live our lives.
Which brings us to Section 5, the ethics of living longer. What happens when we reach 150? Right now, some experts truly believe that today's children could become the very first generation in history to routinely live past 100 years. And some even think future advances could push that healthy lifespan much further. However, pretty much all researchers agree on one absolutely crucial point. The goal isn't just to add more years to our lives. The real goal is to add more healthy years to those lives. Think back to that image of reaching 90 years old while still walking independently, thinking with absolute clarity, enjoying time with your family, and staying super active. That vision? It's becoming more and more realistic as science marches forward. But of course, this also opens up a whole box of ethical questions. If humans start living dramatically longer,
Can our current healthcare systems even keep up with that? And what about retirement? Is the whole concept of retiring at 65 going to completely change?
How will societies as a whole adapt to this new normal? And here's a really big one. Will these amazing medical advances actually be available to everyone, or only to the privileged few who can afford them? These are massive, complex questions that governments, scientists, economists, and, well, all of us as citizens are going to have to figure out together.
So to wrap this explainer up, longevity is simply no longer just a dream or a fun topic for science fiction movies. Huge advances across genetics, nutrition, exercise science, sleep research, regenerative medicine, and artificial intelligence are helping researchers decode aging in ways that were literally unimaginable just a few decades ago. Now, obviously there is still no proven magic pill that completely stops aging, but the evidence clearly shows that making healthy lifestyle choices remains one of the absolute most effective ways to boost both your lifespan and your health span. The future of longevity isn't just about living longer, right? It's really about living better. And perhaps the single greatest medical revolution of the 21st century won't be about curing one specific disease, but finally understanding aging itself. So I want to leave you with a question to ponder. If science could safely allow you to live to 120 or even 150 years old in great health, would you actually choose that longer life? Or do you think there's a natural limit that humanity just shouldn't try to exceed? It's a lot to think about. Let us know where you stand in the comments below.